Some days ago, Behavior revealed the upcoming changes that are coming up till January, which included the long-awaited Freddy Krueger rework, as well as some changes to his perks, changes to Quentin's perks, and an update to the Deep Wound status effect, which we don't know much about. In that same sneak peek, Behavior also revealed changes coming in this November with the new chapter, which included tweaks to 7 licensed killers, including some big names like Chucky and the long-awaited Michael Myers, and this spiked my interest a lot. In this video I want to theorycraft on what is Behavior going to change from those killers, whether they are buffs, nerfs, or just quality of life changes, since we know those changes are killer tweaks instead of killer updates like is specified for the Nightmare. And let's start with the character I am most excited for outside of the Freddy rework, and that is Michael Myers, because we have been asking for changes for years and they are finally here. I have always said that in terms of design, Michael Myers is pretty good. He just needed a bit of changes to his power in order to standardize him better, and he could easily become a decent B-tier killer. I also made an entire video where I explained everything I would change from this character, and I personally think that a lot of those changes will be implemented since they just make so much sense. So it's clear that Myers will receive a buff overall. Now, I have seen some players scared that Myers will get a nerf because they will remove the Tombstone Piece add-on, and to that I say that if they rework his add-ons like they did to Ghostface and Legion and make the majority of them not trash like they are now, they can take Tombstone Piece for all I care. That add-on is very poorly designed, completely unfair, and an add-on should not have such an advantage for that price. I think the Iridescent Tombstone is okay, and Myers also has an achievement tied to it, so if you want to kill survivors like you can now, use that add-on instead. Going back to the changes I think they will implement, for starters I hope that tier 1 is drastically buffed. Since it's not a rework and instead is just killer tweaks, I don't think they are going to make Myers into a stance character like I suggested on my rework video. So for now, I think increasing his speed and removing that dumb basic attack penalty would make him feel significantly better to play with. On top of that, I hope that the range penalty for stalking is completely removed, and instead the stalk rate is exactly the same on all ranges, or if they want to, make the stalk rate reversed so it incentivizes Myers to stalk survivors from afar like he does in the movies. Tier 3 is perfect as is in my opinion, but the way to achieve it is not. I hope that Behavior adds a button in order to activate Myers tier 3 like you can with Oni, just as a quality of life update. And finally, and most importantly in my opinion, Behavior has to introduce a change to survivor stalk limits. They could go the route of completely removing the stalk limits on individual survivors and make it like Ghostface where you can stalk no matter what. And I would honestly find it really cool if you could morty survivors that keep giving you a lot of stalk to prevent one survivor from feeding too much. This would not be something common in matches, and instead it's like the Pig's Reverse Bear Traps, where a survivor has to play very poorly in order to get moried, and Myers would throw the match away if he kept focusing on one survivor in order to mori them. With these changes, I can see Myers climbing various ranks on everyone's tier list. These changes are not that big to be considered reworks, but they are good changes in order to make Myers feel significantly better to play as, and scarier to go against. Combine it with an add-on pass that doesn't remove the unique feeling of add-on variety like the Mirror add-ons, Dead Rabbit or Infinite tier 3, and Myers would finally feel like the scary killer he once was. Dracula has received a lot of changes since his introduction, and various of them were direct buff to his power, and a lot of players agree that he went from a B tier at best in the PTB to an A tier thanks to that. However, despite me thinking that Dracula is almost perfect the way he currently is, I still think there are some outliers with his power that makes me think that unlike with Myers, the changes incoming are going to be nerfs. First of all, the biggest outlier is also related to the purple add-on, and that's Medusa's hair. For those that don't know, this add-on will give a 15% hindrance to any survivors near a place where you teleport, and if you are on the receiving end of this, you will see how absurdly busted that feels like. This add-on is better than the slowdown the Clown and Freddy Krueger get, and let's not even begin on the Skull Merchant slowdown. And for Dracula, it's completely free to do. I would consider it fair if they nerfed it across the board to be a 5% hindrance, because then it would still have a place, but it wouldn't be an objectively superior choice in every single build. I am still debating on whether the other purple add-on, the Lapis Lazuli, which blocks vaults for 15 seconds, is fair, because I think it's really good for the price compared to his iridescent add-ons, which are meh. I wouldn't nerf this add-on because compared to Medusa's hair it's not as bad, but I wouldn't be surprised if behavior does according to pick rate. Those would be my perfect changes. However, given behavior's track record on nerfing things nobody asked for, I also wouldn't be surprised if they nerfed the shapeshift cooldown back again, because some survivors find his bat form to be very oppressive in chase, and I get why, as the wolf form is supposed to be built for chases and catching up, but instead everyone uses the bat form because it's so good, which was supposed to be made for map traversal. We will see once the developer diary drops. Demo is surprising to see here, because most will agree that it is perfect as is. However, I will be the first to say that Demogorgon has been power crept a lot these last few years with new character releases and buffs, as there are killers with better teleports like Dredge, better anti-loop like Nemesis, or straight up better both like the Unknown and Xenomorph. There is no way that these changes are going to be nerfs, as Demo is currently sitting at one of the lowest kill rates in DbD. In fact, according to Nightlight, it's the worst one by far. I personally think that his shred is okay, and maybe I would make it so you can no longer cancel it by attacking early, so instead I think the focus will be put on buffing portals. As you may know, a lot of the Demogorgon's add-ons are not related to the shred, but the portals instead. However, many players know that Demo's portals are very underwhelming, so the majority of add-on uses go towards Barb's Glasses, Black Heart, or Muse Guts. It is possible that behavior gives Demo an unknown treatment and makes those add-ons partially base kit while nerfing them, but I am not so sure. For portals, I hope that they increase the speed at which you teleport to them just like they did with the Dredge, increase the undetectable duration after coming out of them, and allow Demogorgon the possibility of breaking the portals or get them back somehow so players can reposition it during the match. I think those are some solid changes to make. Finally, but this is a very minor thing, make the daily challenge with Demogorgon not require full charge shreds, and instead let any shred count. I am very surprised to see Wesker in this list, and also I would be very surprised if he gets a nerf, because I think after the tunneling change they gave him, Wesker is in a perfect state. Considering that his kill rate is currently low according to Nightlight, the only logical thing that comes to my mind is giving Wesker some very small buffs to compensate, but if it were for me, I would not change anything. And even then, his infection rate is okay, his virulent bound is okay, the distance he gets is okay, there is nothing I would change besides the cooldown. I think making it a bit shorter to allow Wesker to use his power more would be good, but not necessary at all. What I hope is that they don't fix the techs that make Wesker so cool to play with when you are good, so hopefully they keep Uro bending because it gives skill expression, as well as the hook tech because it's hard to do and is not a problem at all. Another change they could do is make the egg add-on partially base kit, as it's a very popular add-on for a lot of Wesker mains. I don't think this change would make Wesker more oppressive, but it would for sure help a bit for casual players. Another very interesting pick is Vecna, and he is by far the hardest character to guess what the changes are going to be, as they can go either way. On a best case scenario, I would love if they just removed his cooldown add-on and made it partially base kit, because I find it very boring how that add-on is objectively the best. This would help Vecna feel significantly better than he is right now, because his spell's cooldown is still too high and very punishing to misuse them or when you get counterplayed. The worst case scenario is a nerf, and I see that being a possibility, as Vecna has a very high one according to behavior's official stats, as well as according to Nightlight he has the second highest, but I think that's a skill issue on the majority of the player base part, rather than Vecna being too strong, and I truly hope they don't do him like they did to Scully. The only nerf I would accept, even if I hate it, is removing the insta-skeletons from the game, because once you know how to do it, it's super easy to guarantee a hit, and the reaction times of the survivors have to be almost on the level of a professional Korean esports player in order to dodge it. Make it so that the skeletons do not injure on spawn to give survivors an opportunity at dodging that unfair hit. This would still be useful as survivors have to dodge, wasting distance. Outside of that, I truly don't see any change with Vecna's power that would be fair to the players. Mage Hand is perfect as is, Dispelling Spear is perfect as is, and Fly is perfect as is. Maybe the nerf is found outside of the box, and instead they focus on buffing magic items to make all of them useful for survivors and more rewarding for them to get, and at the same time giving Vecna a reason to use Dispelling Sphere in order to deactivate them during a chase, but I have no idea how they will buff those items. This character is, without a doubt, the one that I am the most worried about, but I prefer to be positive and wait until the changes are revealed before I judge. Now Chucky, on the other hand, is a completely different story, and it's super simple compared to the other characters. I need a complete nerf of Rat Poison, because that add-on is absurdly busted. I have said it in 2 videos in a row already. This add-on is so busted that some Chucky mains decide not to use it because it gives such an unfair advantage to the players. And despite how much he is hated by the survivor community, I would not nerf his power in any way. Yes, he is very strong and easy to use, but that's all he gets. He has no map mobility, no pressure outside of hooking, and on top of that, he's a 110% killer. His insane lethality is what keeps him outside of being a bad killer with no reason to be used. And finally, we have Ghostface, and I have seen a lot of players scared for a nerf, but in my opinion, there is legitimately zero chance he's getting anything but a buff. Ghostface is regarded by many players to be weaker compared to the rest. In terms of buffs, the ones that immediately come to my mind is making part of his brown add-ons as base kit, because they are really good for the cost, and a lot of Ghostface players resort to using them and not using anything else. The camera add-on as well as Walleye's matchbook are the ones that I am thinking of, which will make his cooldown shorter and also make stalking faster. Those 2 add-ons will make Ghostface feel better to play. Then, I would make it so that survivors on a hook cannot reveal you out of a stalk, or at the very least, make Lasting Perfume base kit and rework it into something else. I think a lot of Ghostface mains agree that getting your power removed from a hooked survivor is really annoying, and since the game introduced the anti-camping mechanic, that's enough incentive for players to leave instead of camp with the undetectable status effect. I don't know how crazy this would be, but if they wanted to make Ghostface super strong, they could also remove the stock rate removal when you hit a survivor, and instead only reset it when you go down. This would make it so that survivors that body block while you are carrying a survivor no longer have their stock rate reduced to 0, so now even if they get healed, you can insta-down them in the next chase either way. I would not add it, and I don't think this is necessary, but it's the only thing coming to my mind that would be a buff to the Ghostface, as he struggles a lot when survivors play in an altruistic way, especially against aggressive Survivor Friends teams. And those are the changes that I believe we're going to see in November. Remember to stay tuned, as I will make a video covering the changes once they are live, and check out the killer tier list if you are interested in me yapping about these killer powers. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.